basically what we're seeing is that this stimulus rally that's sort of been propped up by commentary. Really, the problem here is in new starts in property, and that's a huge demand centre for steel. And if you've got a property problem in terms of prices, the last thing you want to do is add a whole bunch of new builds into an indebted part of the sector in terms of those primary developers. And so it's really hard to see that steel growth come and absorb those volumes. And that's just if we're talking over the next sort of 6 months. Looking even more forward when you're talking about Simandou and growth from other sort of midstream operators, that's going to be incredibly hard to absorb. So we're structurally bearish on the iron ore price. We've got the iron ore price at 95 in the second half. The price hasn't really moved there yet, so things have to pull back a fair bit of a way to get there. But we're confident in that view, just on the supply volumes. As you said, Vale is starting to kick goals, and they're always a second half weighted producer. And similarly, Rio's guiding to the upside. BHP's flat, and Fortescue had their announcement today. Look, not huge volume uplift for guidance next year, but we do know that Iron Bridge will ramp up. So if you don't have all that iron ore going into steel, and just overnight we saw the communication of steel cuts from the MIT in China, trying to pull back and keep that sector healthy from a margin point of view, things don't look great from an iron ore perspective.
What about from an aluminium and copper perspective? Any turnaround expected there?
Yeah, so aluminium's really been in the doldrums for a little bit. It's really pulled back on energy prices. And aluminium's pretty close to the cost curve. We're seeing those energy worries in Europe hit last year, which really pushed the aluminium price up, and that's abated quite a bit. So aluminium is a structural metal that's going to have a lot of demand into the long term, renewable penetration, autos, etc. So look, we do have a constructive view on Ali, but copper's the consensus long across the street. Everyone looks at copper and thinks, geez, how are we going to supply the market in the next 2 to 3 years, let alone 10? And if we look at Rio Tinto versus, say, some of the major competitors in the space, I was in Oyu Tolgoi last week or 2 weeks ago. They've got the copper growth, Rio, and OT is going to be a very large producer. I potentially think it might do a little bit more than what Rio are committing to. I think they're being naturally conservative there, but it's a beast of an ore body, and really just needs the infrastructure deployed to get the returns. And I think the country risk environment in Mongolia has improved.